Too often, young people are labelled as an apathetic generation by our media, and unfortunately by sometimes our politicians as well, who only want to really engage with us when elections are around the corner. You know, when you say the word politics, you often think Parliament, Westminster, MPs, but actually politics is more than that. It's about whether your train service is running on time. It's about whether your recycling bag is getting picked up in front of your home. You know, I was doing this workshop once with young NCS students, and we was identifying key political, economic, technological and social trends. And he put Pokemon Go when it first came out. So I asked him, are you interested in politics? And he said to me, no, I don't care about politics. So I said, what's on the news about politics at the moment? I mean, about Pokemon Go at the moment. And he said to me, do you know what? They might share your location with the government. So I was like, how do you feel about that? And he says, well, personally, I don't want the government to know where I am. And then someone else in the room said, do you know what? If something happened to me, then the government know where I am and they can help me. And I was like, there you go, that's politics. So our duty, as My Life Might Say, and everyone here, is to make sure that we can rebrand politics and make it more accessible to people. So, as My Life Might Say, as Shante thankfully introduced me as well, thank you Sophia as well for your great performance as well. Soon after the EU referendum, we thought long and hard about how we can meaningfully make sure that young people's voices are heard in the EU negotiations. We didn't want to rush a campaign, because too often with campaigns you can make noise, but how do you actually influence decision makers? And that's what we wanted to do, have a meaningful way of influencing the decisions, the negotiations. So we set up the all-party parliamentary group on a better Brexit for young people, because we believe that it acts as a structured engagement platform between young people and decision makers. Because too often, you know, ministers or MPs will call you around to roundtable discussions. You know, they'll listen to you. I know some of you here have listened to, have been part of those roundtable discussions. And at the end of it, they'll say to you, do you know what? Well, thank you for coming. We'll take what you said on board, and then you'll hear back or you'll hear on the news. But where is the process to follow that? And that's why the APPG is a really good model, because we can really make sure that we can hold our politicians in account. It's a lobby group, a way into Parliament, and we can scrutinise the government on their policies. Because you know what? We're going to live with that outcome the longest. Yeah? We're not saying that we want to reverse Brexit. We're not saying that Brexit's going to be a bad thing. What we're saying is three things. One is, how do we make sure, three questions we're asking is, how do we make sure young people's voices are heard in the negotiations? The second is, how do we protect the most important issues or like things that currently young people benefit from within the EU? And the third thing is, how does Brexit become an opportunity for young people? So, how do we open up global opportunities within the Prime Minister's vision of global Britain? How do we make sure that young people have a say in that? So that's where we believe that the APPG could be an important model, and we're working together with, we've got Sam here from the London School of Economics. Big shout out to him. In order for the APPG to be an effective model, it needs to produce good quality research that is credible. So we've partnered with the London School of Economics to make sure that we're carrying out research now that is 25 focus groups across the country, Northern Ireland, all nations covered, lots of different areas covered, and making sure that we've got key recommendations asked from the government that is actually credible. And we're also working with the European Commission as well, because we believe that it's important that we speak to both sides of the negotiations. And over there, we're looking at how young people envision the future relationship between the UK and the EU, and that will be a report that we published 1 year on from Brexit on the 23rd of June. Some other stuff that we're doing as well, we're running something called Brexit Cafe. Big shout out to Mike, Kenny, and the Bite the Ballot team. We worked with them in 2015 in the run-up to the general elections. They had a concept called DCAF, which is Democracy Cafe, which sort of aims to reignite that 17th century discussing politics over coffee. And one of the things that we realised, how that model works really well, is because it reduces a lot of barriers for young people. Because if it's your first event that you're going to go to, like to an event to talk about politics, if you're going to Parliament, you've got to think about how you dress, whether you're wearing a suit or whether you're just smart. We don't even sometimes think about whether that person can afford to buy smart clothing. Or you might be intimidated by people around you. You might be thinking, oh, what's that person going to say if I say this, that? But the coffee houses work really well because, it's where young people are. That's where we go to, whether it's Starbucks or wherever it is in the country. So we've run a few pilot sessions called Brexit Cafe in Blackburn, Portsmouth, Dagenham, Wales, and we're really making sure that we're reaching the most hard to reach young people. So, I was in Portsmouth just 2 weeks ago, and we spoke to some young NEETs and young people at risk of becoming non-education program training. And I've never ever, I've been a counsellor for 3 years, and I've dealt with very vulnerable people in Hackney, and I've never ever been moved to tears in an actual discussion. And some of the things that those young people go through, working 2.5 weeks at a shop, getting paid £65, having to leave that job, not even having the time to think about their anger, just having to move on because they have to make ends meet. And these are the sorts of young people that we need to be talking to. So that is why the Brexit Cafe is a really good model, and that's why that's part of the work that we're doing. So we launched the campaign because that's the public mobilisation arm of our efforts to engage young people on Brexit. So we'll be working over the next 2 years. We're in touch with the Department for Exiting the EU. We're in touch with the European Commission. We're in touch with the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, making sure that young Londoners actually have a say on Brexit too. And what we want to do is hopefully today, soon after, we'll be launching a series of cafes across the country. We've got a National Conversations Week in the 3rd week of May, which will be a week full of action and full of events across the country. So please keep in touch, please sign up.